In this video, I'm going to discuss how world peace could work. This topic came to mind when I read the book, The Storm of Steel by Ernest Junger. The topics of this video will be religion, demographics, politics, and history. I will then explain if I believe my idea of world peace will work, and if peace in general is a possibility. If you're watching the full episode on the podcast channel, all sections will be time-stamped in the description. If you're watching on the Clips channel, make sure to watch all episodes to get the best understanding of the topic. I hope you enjoy, and if you have any criticisms, leave them in the description below. Alright, and now on to today's podcast. I think the best way to achieve world peace is by bringing peace between all religions. There should be different layers into how this alliance should function. Each continent should have an alliance. Each alliance group would have one representative for each religion for each country. These religions would be chosen by a vote. Each church of that religion is allowed to cast one vote in favor of who they think should represent them. There would be up to 3 election cycles. If nobody gets over 60% on the first round, the top 3 candidates could go into a runoff. If nobody gets over 60% in the second round, then the top 2 candidates would run to be elected. Each country is in charge of collecting and processing the votes. This would form a small parliament of religious figures representing across the continent. With an equal number of representatives in each country, all representatives would then vote for one person to be the overall religious negotiator. Whoever would get second place would be the vice negotiator. And to prevent religious factions from assassinating another to gain power, if the head negotiator position was left open, then the election would take place immediately. This would be similar to being president, but would not actually hold any real powers and would only be in charge of negotiating peace, essentially just giving tips, advice, and ideas to politicians who actually hold political powers. This election cycle would occur in spring every year to get the best representation. If there aren't any followers of a certain religion in a country, they don't need to elect a representative for that religion because there wouldn't be anyone to run or vote. So now that we have the rules laid out, let's start off with North America. The North American Parliament would consist of 41 Christians and atheists, 31 folk religion followers, 24 Muslims, 18 Hindus, and 9 Buddhists and Jews. That'd be a total of 173 members. This means that a Christian negotiator would most likely be elected, as the second round would most likely be 90 Christians, 41 atheists, and 42 Muslims. The third round would end up as 131 Christians, 42 Muslims, and South America would have 66 representatives, 22 Christians, atheists, and folk religion followers. The third round would end up as 44 Christian, 22 atheists, and South America would have a Christian negotiator. Europe would have 118 representatives, 31 Christians, atheists, and folk religion followers, 25 Muslims. The second round would be 55 folk religion, 31 Christian, 31 atheists. The final round would be 62 Christians and 55 folk religion. Africa would have 237 representatives, 55 Christians and Muslims, 52 folk religion followers, 48 atheists, 13 Hindus, 9 Jews, and 5 Buddhists. The second round would be 64 Christian, 103 Muslim, 70 folk religion followers, and the final round would be 103 Muslim, 134 folk religion. Asia would have about 240 representatives, 48 Christians, 47 Muslims, 38 atheists, 37 Hindus, 36 Buddhists, 24 folk religion followers, and 10 Jews. The second round would go 64 Christian, 108 Muslim, and 38 atheist. The final round would be 130 Christian and 108 Muslim. Oceania would have 93 representatives, 23 Christians, 20 Muslims, 19 atheists, 15 folk religion followers, 10 Buddhists, 4 Hindus, and 2 Jews. The second round would go to 50 Christian, 24 Muslim, and 19 atheists. The final round would go 69 Christian and 24 Muslim. Overall, North America would be Christian, South America would be Christian, Europe would be Christian, Africa would be folk religion, Asia would be Christian, and Oceania would be Christian. As the negotiators would be 83% Christian and 17 folk religion, the total sum of all parliaments would be 3.6% Jewish, 7.2% Buddhist, 8.7% Hindus, 20.6% Muslim, 21.1% folk religion, 24% atheist, and 26.6% Christian. Now that it is understood how the election system would work, it is important to know how the negotiators would actually negotiate. There are two things to look at. The first is how these representatives would be able to negotiate with countries. The second is what these alliance groups would be. How these representatives would negotiate is by having meetings with a certain country's government on a monthly basis. I don't really know what else to say about this because it's pretty straightforward. With these negotiations, 6 military treaties would be created for each continent. The first would be the Columbus Agreement in North America. This treaty would make it so no country in North America could go to war with each other. Eliminating cartels would be the main focus of the member states. The second would be the SASA, or the Southern American Security Alliance. This would guarantee peace in South America. The main focus of this alliance would be cartels and democracy. The third would probably just be the European Union in Europe. I would stick with the European Union because there's really no point in creating a second, more weak union that would have the same purpose. The purpose of the European Union is to create peace and unite the economy of Europe by deregulating trade between its member states and having a universal currency. The fourth would be the GAU, or the Great African Union. This would guarantee peace between all member states. The main focus of this union would be education, industry, infrastructure, corruption, democracy, healthcare development, political instability, inflation, and border disputes. The fifth would be the Abraham Alliance in Asia. This would guarantee peace between all member states. The main focus would be peace between religions and cultures, and development of tolerance for each religions and cultures, terrorism, democracy, industry, trade, infrastructure, and human rights. The last would be the Atlantic Treaty in Oceania. This would serve the exact same purpose as the European Union. There would also be an agreement between all alliances not to go to war with members of other alliances. A military agreement would take place in and amongst all alliances. If one country attempts to expand its borders through war, all countries would be responsible for creating a global counteroffensive against the country, and installing a democratic government and negotiating of the previous aggressor party should be eligible to run in these elections. Now that we know what these alliances are, what would be the impact of these alliances?